In the days of trials and tribulations, when the heavens seemed silent and the earth groaned under the weight of its burdens, there was a woman named Hannah, whose soul was troubled and whose prayers ascended like incense before the throne of the Almighty. She, though righteous and faithful, was barren, and her heart ached with longing for a child. Year upon year, she journeyed to the temple of the Lord, pouring out her soul in fervent supplication, her lips trembling with words unspoken. Her adversary mocked her, her sorrow deepened. Yet she did not turn away from her God. One evening, as the golden light of the setting sun bathed the temple courts, she knelt before the altar, tears streaming down her face. "O Lord of hosts," she whispered, her voice but a breath in the still air, "if you will indeed look upon the affliction of your servant and remember me, and not forget me, but grant me a son, then I will give him unto you all the days of his life." Her prayer was heard in the heavens, and the Lord, in his infinite wisdom, prepared the answer she longed for. But first, she was to be tested, refined in the crucible of patience. And it came to pass that Eli, the high priest, beheld her and, seeing her lips move without sound, mistook her sorrow for drunkenness. "Woman," he said sternly, "why do you come before the Lord in such a state? Put away your wine." But Hannah lifted her tear-stained face and replied, "No, my Lord. I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord." And Eli, perceiving the truth of her words, spoke a blessing over her. "Go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant your petition." In due time, the Lord remembered Hannah, and she conceived and bore a son, whom she named Samuel, saying, "Because I have asked him of the Lord." Years passed, and Samuel grew in favor before the Lord, for he was dedicated to God's service. He was a chosen vessel, a light in a time of darkness, a man through whom the Almighty would speak to his people. Thus, it is written, that those who wait upon the Lord shall be renewed in strength, and though sorrow may tarry through the night, joy shall come in the morning. And even in this age, when the world wails with uncertainty and hearts falter under the weight of unanswered prayers, God still moves unseen, shaping destinies, refining souls in the fires of patience and faith. There was a man burdened by the cares of life, who lifted his eyes to the heavens and groaned, "Lord, have you forgotten me?" His prayers, like arrows, seemed to fall short. The heavens remained silent, and despair threatened to consume him. Yet unbeknownst to him, the Lord was working, weaving together the strands of his life, positioning people, altering circumstances, and preparing the way for a blessing far greater than he had imagined. But before the blessing, there was a refining, and before the fulfillment, a test. Like Joseph, who dreamt of greatness yet found himself cast into a pit, enslaved, and imprisoned, the man found himself sinking into despair. His finances dwindled, his relationships faltered, and the promise he clung to seemed but a whisper of the past. But in the darkness, the voice of the Lord came, not as a thunderous decree, but as a still, small whisper, "Trust in me." For even as Joseph languished in prison, falsely accused, forgotten by men, the Lord was preparing him for the palace. The trials were not signs of abandonment, but of preparation. Through hardship, Joseph learned wisdom. Through betrayal, he learned forgiveness. Through waiting, he learned patience. And when the appointed time came, he rose, clothed in authority, second only to Pharaoh, saving many in the time of famine. So too, the man in his anguish was being shaped. The tears he shed were watering the soil of his future harvest. His struggles were not in vain, for they were forging him into a vessel fit for the blessings to come. As the days passed, a stirring awoke within him, an unquenchable hunger for the presence of God. He found himself yearning for the Word, seeking refuge in prayer, longing for the sanctuary of worship. His spirit, once weary, now thirsted for the living God, as the deer pants for the water brooks. This hunger was a sign, a calling deeper into the mysteries of the divine. For before the Lord enlarges a man's territory, he first enlarges his soul. Before he grants a blessing, he first ensures the heart is prepared to receive it. And so, as he pressed into the presence of God, peace settled over him. Not the peace of worldly assurance, but the peace that surpasses understanding. It was the peace of knowing that though the storm raged, the one who walked upon the waters was near. Then came the day of fulfillment. Like the dawning of a new morning after the longest night, the answer came suddenly, yet it had been in the making all along. The pieces of his life fell into place with divine precision. What he had prayed for, he now held in his hands. But more than the blessing, he had gained something far greater, an unshakable faith, a trust refined in the fires of waiting. And he declared, "Surely, the Lord was working even when I could not see it. He has been faithful." So too, dear reader, if you find yourself in the waiting, if the heavens seem silent and the burden heavy, take heart. For the Lord is near to those who call upon him in truth. Your trials are not signs of abandonment, but of preparation. He is not delaying, but refining. And when the appointed time comes, you will see that he was working all along. Therefore, let not your heart be troubled, but hold fast to the promises of God. For he who has spoken is faithful, and what he has begun in you, he will surely complete. And when your prayers are answered, and the testimony is written upon your life, you too shall declare, "The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes."